so much of this industry really is, frankly, like every other industry. Mm-hmm. It's just that music is no different in that sense, that it really is about the relationships that you build.
Yeah. And real ones, like real
ones,
friendships. And
yeah, not, I think this is an industry that has the potential to foster, obviously depending on who the people are, but it has the potential to foster inauthentic relationships, but that's not likely to actually get you the results that you're looking for. It's the authentic relationships that are the ones that matter in the end. Those are the ones that are rewarding.
Yes. And going back to your question about the people who have influenced you and helped you, the people that genuinely believed in the music that I was making or the music I've made with my friends, are still and who worked hard to get the music out there are still my friends. They could have picked up on us and in some cases it was the late 80s and the early 1990s and stepped in to help and stepped in to be part of it. They never leave your life. Those are your friends.
Welcome to the Vocal Lab. I'm Sarah Ramsey, and this show aims to pull back the curtain on the entertainment industry, where veterans give up-and-coming artists some of the information they wish they'd had when they were just starting out. Sort of a music industry primer, if you will. Thanks for joining us on the Vocal Lab. This is actually part 2 of our interview, so if you haven't caught part 1 yet, head back to the episode right before this one and get all caught up, and then join us back here. We'll see you soon. How do you find that writing for film and TV differs, or does it, from traditional songwriting?
I've often described it as it's songwriting, but the inspiration is completely provided for you by some sort of stricter guidelines, because somebody's given you a story. They've given you the visuals for it. You're not imagining them or projecting an imagination of the situation through the song. You're supporting that complete idea. And so it's a matter of finding stuff that honors it, knowing when not to do anything, knowing when you're discussing it with somebody, what needs support, what doesn't, how to we're talking about writing score rather than songs for movies. It's kind of I don't quite understand where the instincts come from for knowing, in a way. You can study it, and I'm sure, and I see people coming out of programs for composition that have the toolbox. I learned it the hard way by applying it and getting it rejected. Like, there's a lot of rejection. There's way more rejection in film and TV music than you would even imagine. You really have to get used to that. So when you apply it, I like it, but no, someone will say that. And that just took you 10 hours or a day or whatever. And, okay, well, let's next. How about this? Yeah, closer. Not quite, and it's just, it either works or it doesn't for that, for that person. So you get used to that. So that's the difference in songwriting, because you get really excited about the song you wrote. If you're by yourself, you get really excited with the partner you're working with, if you're collaborating, and then it goes out into the world and somebody likes it. Your mom might like it, your dad, somebody likes it, and it works a different way. You get all of that over with really quickly, knowing, well, that's going to die and just go in a box in a black hole onto the next one. So it is that thing where it is provided for you and you're honoring that. That's the big difference. But you do to the second part of your question, you employ the same instincts. You employ the same melodic instincts and understanding of what that jump to a sixth does for the romance of the situation or whatever you're doing, you understand which stuff as you do it is going to work. And in the same way that it works in a song.
Yeah. Everybody's routine in the studio looks different, right? Mm-hmm. Some artists write in the studio, some don't. Some people have preferences about the order in which things are tracked. I know, like, my brother often records his drummer last. I heard Paul McCartney always tracked bass last. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I did hear that somewhere along the way. Do you want to talk about your process in the studio when you're making a record or recording a song? Do you have any specific things that factor in? Do you always have to light candles or hang twinkly lights?
No, I think at this point I've tried almost everything. And I think with our band, it happens any number of ways. Yeah. It could be that I'm over at somebody's house and we get an idea and it's just two people playing together, unamplified, and somebody turns on their phone and we record a piece of it. And then that's replicated when we're all together and built on. It can be everybody in a room playing, and then you just hit the record button, which is this place that I'm in now. It's set up for that. And then it can be somebody put together an entire track. All of it's done. And we're all going in and playing it the way we would play it. Sometimes over what they did to sample drums, and then the drums are replaced by Pat. It can be two of us in this place, and that's the basis of the track. You know, we put it down. That's the basis, and everybody is on it. And it could be any of the instruments. Murray on guitar and I, or Murray playing piano, and Doug and I playing bass and a drum machine. You know, it can be any of those things to create it. So the answer to the first part is, I don't really specify which way it's going to be that it has to happen. I know in the odds, though, Doug does like to redo his bass last. So he'll do it with Pat, and it'll be awesome because they've been playing together since they were 18 years old. But and often for any other situation, that's fine. You know, if they go in as a team on a session, the two of them can just blow your mind immediately. So that's fine. But when it's our own band, Doug goes, give me another run at it. And then all of a sudden it becomes something extra magical. So that's one thing I've noticed over the years, that happens often. In terms of collaborative songwriting, a lot of times it's online now too. Somebody will send me something that's quasi-complete or not. When I write with Rob for Strippers Union, oftentimes he sends me 50 instrumental pieces that are complete. And I just get, it's such luxury. I go, no, that one. I got something in there, and I just lay it up in my machine in the studio, that instrumental. I start chopping it up. I start singing on top of it, and eventually words appear, or maybe I've got some in my fragments I talked about earlier. And that's the way those songs happen a lot of the time. And then we get together and it can flex some more. And those albums, the first two were done live off the floor, basically with a band after that process. And the second one was more of a pandemic album where we were able to get the rhythm section done here. All of it was done at his place in terms of the other tracks. I think that kind of covers it. I mean, Stephen Page and I have written a lot of music together. A lot of it is when we're together. We're just hacking around. One of us is sitting there with a guitar, and the other one's got a bass or something, and we're just talking, and we record it to a little machine, like a phone, and then it expands from there. It gets left with one person. Oftentimes I'll send him a track with a groove and bass line and maybe a chorus, maybe some idea I have as far as the beginning of the story, as we spoke of. Then it comes back finished.
Yeah. It's, I mean, collaborative songwriting there's some magic to it that way, right? When you
find people that trust you and you trust them, that's the best.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the realities of life on tour, because you've certainly done some of that in your life. Specifically, I want to talk about the impact of touring life on your body and your voice. Because I think from afar, especially for young artists who don't know yet what they don't know, maybe, it looks like maybe it's pretty glamorous.
Yeah.
They don't know what they don't know yet.
Yeah.
And I think from the inside, it can be a different experience. And it can have some pretty harsh realities, particularly for singers, around vocal fatigue, as well as like lifestyle and all of that. You want to talk about your experience there?
Sure. You get smarter about it as you go. In the early days, you might stay up way too late. The sleep is such a big part, as you probably speak with your vocal students about your ability to sing. Hydration, the simple things, sleep, hydration, and warming up. I can't claim to do them all correctly to this day, but I think especially one-nighters traveling, you have no time to recover ever. So that warm-up part and that hydration and just not talking all the time. I would say in the Stephen Page trio, we're so voluble during band drives, which is already a masking noise, or in a Sprinter or in a plane or whatever you're in. You're elevating your speaking voice. You're trying to get your point across, whatever it is that you're doing, or you're talking over this, analyzing some song that's playing in the background. By the time you get to sound check, you probably shouldn't be singing. You probably should be taking another 3 hours without talking. So there isn't that ability anymore. A lot of times there's VIPs and things at your sound check where you're really performing all day. If you're doing media, you're basically singing, stopping, talking, singing, stopping, talking, singing. And then say Stephen's shows are 2.5 hours long. So that's a lot.
Yes, it is.
So I can say it's not glamorous if you're trying to do the job right. If you're going to, be the Replacements in 1991 or, be a romantic, collapsing rock and roll machine, you'll be fine. Just go out there and do whatever you want and create some media headlines for the time you had to cancel. And, but if you want to actually do a good job during the performance and do it the next night and the next night and the next night, you have to start thinking about all those things and how to give yourself a break from them, how not go into a loud place and not go to dinner just before you perform. If you do go to dinner, have a salad, that kind of stuff. You just learn tricks to survive, party tricks, I suppose. I always ask the people who are, people who have a job as a social convener for a corporation or something, and they've always got a drink in their hand at a social event, why they're not falling down drunk like everyone else at the end of the night. And they say, well, because I'm not always drinking out of this thing. And they've got a trick to get themselves through those situations, and they have fun. They do all those things, but it's just learning to make that a priority.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't claim that we do it right.
Back in the day with the odds, you guys really complicated it because you guys also had an alter ego band.
Yes. We would open for ourselves sometimes. Patrol. Yeah.
And you had a house gig at the Roxy, but did you guys, I might have this wrong, but my recollection, I saw you a whole bunch of times at the Roxy, which is hilarious because I was definitely not old enough to be in the Roxy at that point in time, but we won't talk about that.
Good work.
But did you guys not open for yourselves?
Yeah.
Right? So you really complicated the whole issue of like vocal fatigue with that band.
Well, that falls under the thing I was mentioning way earlier in this about the extensive strategies to get your career going that we did in order to do what we wanted to do. Involved forming another band that initially was Stephen Drake's band before the odds. He had the Dawn Patrol during Expo 86. This is going back a ways, everybody. Expo was a World's Fair. And we applied that when they opened that club. The club asked us, could we make that happen in their club? So they gave us a room downstairs and we spent a week learning a repertoire, and we started doing that. And I hadn't been I'd been in bands that played covers, but I'd always written from the beginning and not really been in a cover band. So it became more of theater, as you remember. It became more about... There were
a lot of wigs.
Wigs and glasses and pseudonyms, and we didn't keep the lyrics the same to the songs, but we played them pretty faithfully. We changed them all the time, and we were snarky and petulant and ridiculous, and probably would have been canceled if it was this, this era. It was a
different time.
Yes, it was all wrong, and so we weren't taking care of ourselves. And yes, so the whole idea behind it was to have a space to work on our other music in the odds in that basement, and to further that by having a job, by having some money coming in, and we would take that money that we earned and put it back into our band. So every week we would record. We didn't really sleep for a number of years. We recorded through the day, writing songs downstairs. And then on Thursdays, we would open for ourselves as ourselves. We'd open for the Dawn Patrol as our real selves. And we would record that performance. So we would write all new songs, learn them, play them, record them, and then listen back and go, oh, that one works, or that changed this or that. So we spent all our time working on our own stuff. And every once in a while, we'd learn another tune for the Dawn Patrol, a cover tune. But mostly we were working on that. And then we had an A&R guy. In the old days, there used to be these things called labels, and you had to go get a record deal in order to do anything. You were just completely beholden to these terrible deals. And so we had somebody from Los Angeles come to see us, and we realized that's probably where we need to go, because nobody was really interested in the stuff we were recording downstairs in Canada. So we took the demos of the things we recorded downstairs, took the money from the Dawn Patrol, and started flying to Los Angeles to play house gigs there and showcases. And that's how we got going. Exhausting plan. 3 years, almost 2.5 to 3 years before we got a publishing deal in Los Angeles, and that led to a record deal. So that's when we talk about taking care of yourself, we did none of that. But because we were bulletproof and in our 20s, it worked out.
Okay, I have to ask you, as I was doing a bit of research for this interview, I came across a quote on your IMDb page.
Right. I don't write anything like that.
I know. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but I'm guessing. But it says that your trademark is that you do a strange left leg dance while performing in concert.
Yes. Yeah.
I could find no video evidence, but
I could do it for you if you want. But I didn't. It's all, you know what it's like. You just do stuff with your body. You don't know you're doing it. I guess it's a tick or whatever you call it. But my left leg goes up at times of excitement. And I think the person who wrote that, whoever put up that IMDb page, must have been a kinesiologist or something. I have no idea. But my kids at one point, when they were little, said, "Stop doing that with your leg, Dad." Like, they saw a show and going, "What? Do what with my leg?" And then they could all do it. They could all do the thing. So I just ignore it. I just do it anyway. But I love that you found that.
It made me think of, I heard Angus Young interviewed one time about the little dance that he does when he's playing guitar. And he just said he's a really heavy smoker and he's just having a nick fit. And it comes out in his little dancing jig that he does as he's soloing.
Yeah, I love that. I hope he stays healthy, though.
Yes,
he doesn't indeed have to sing.
So we've talked a little bit about, the history of the odds. Do you want to talk a little bit about navigating the wild and weird road of a band ending and then reforming some years later? I think that's a journey that younger artists might not actually think about ever having to navigate as they're starting their careers. You're in that starry-eyed phase and it seems like not a reality, but it's actually a thing that I think more people come across than maybe we realize.
I would say if you're in the phase of working as a young band, don't think about those, dire moments. I mean, it was better for us never to think something like that was ever going to happen. So when it did, it was kind of, okay, well, everyone had that feeling that it had run its course for innumerable reasons. And what was happening then afterwards was, I guess I was the one I kind of pulled the plug and said, because I wanted to make a record of my own, and that wasn't going to happen because we were kind of sitting still. And so I kind of forced the issue. And after the dust settled and we were off doing things on our own, I did the same thing. I just followed what seemed to be interesting. At that point, I started to write for other people. I started to do more of this film scoring. I worked with Colin James pretty extensively, which I have zero regrets. I have the opposite for doing that. I made so many albums with Colin and toured with him for 10 years. And a couple of the other guys in the odds played with Colin with me. And each time I went to do something that was a film score or something, I'd hire the other two guys in the odds. And each time I went to do something live, I'd hire the other two guys in the odds to do it with me and to collaborate with me and share songwriting.
And you're referring to Pat and Doug.
Pat and Doug. So we realized, I think Doug and Pat came to me, 6 years into this hiatus, as we would call it, and said, "This is dumb. We want to do this the way we used to do it, the same way. We should just get together regularly and be a band, the three of us." So we did. We started, and of course, songs came. Everything started to happen again. And we said, well, what are we going to call our band? What are we going to be? along the way, they had been doing another house gig similar to the Dawn Patrol with Murray Atkinson, the two of them, Doug and Pat, at what was then the Cellar on the corner of Granville, down the street, owned by the same Roxy people. And Murray ended up coming and playing with us one day, and that was it. He was just perfect. He was fit in just perfectly, and he had the same sense of humor, same everything. Was crazy. And so we then had this 4-piece again, and we said, well, why don't we make the Spinal Tap joke? Let's call it the New Odds, because they were the originals, then they were the new originals. So it was a Spinal Tap joke that didn't play very well. We put out an album. Nobody got it. Nobody liked our joke. Nobody knew that it was a reference to our past, or it just didn't line up. So then we went back to our old name. So it was in slow navigation. It was just based on what we wanted to do, and based again on the pure love of playing music together. It wasn't a career thing. Oh, we got to put that back together because things were better back then, and we need that name and we need to do that. It was more or less, we love playing together, and it's easier for the audience to see us with that name, to find us or to know that it's that vibe, that's us. We can play the old songs. We can play whatever we've just come up with.
Yeah.
They want the old songs more, but we make new songs despite ourselves.
Well, I mean, that's music is a creative art. It is not a stagnant place to be, right?
You got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, especially since you've talked about a lot of collaborative work over the course of your career, is there anything that you see, and I am asking this question with an eye towards, like I say, sort of shedding light for a younger generation. Is there anything that you see often missed or misunderstood by other artists or writers?
I think through the course of this discussion, your questions have brought up, you've touched on those points, because you've asked about preserving yourself on the road. You've asked about career paths. And we've talked around those things. I think the perception of people is, one, I want to play music because it might look easier than something else I want to do. It's not. It's possibly harder than anything else you want to do. I want to play music because that looks like a good way to be famous or rich. It is for 1% of musicians. Sure, if you can figure out if that all lines up for you, that's great. But there is no steady road to it. There's no school you can go to, get those credentials, then you're rich and famous.
And there's no guaranteed formula.
There's no guarantee about it. So if that's your motivation, if that's the core motivation of you, I've always said, talking to people, you should probably try something else. You might get more rich and famous being a commercial real estate agent. Yeah. I mean, if you want to play music, that's why you should be doing this.
Yeah.
Purely for the fact that that's all you can see in your mind. It's all you want to do. You don't see other options for yourself. You only see that option, then be a musician.
Yeah.
As far as, so that's misconception. I'm not sure there are any more that are any more important than that as far as misconceptions. The other ones I see all the time about people on social media saying, why don't you come to Spain? You know, that kind of stuff where you have to explain how the business works and that it's not your choice. Someone from Spain has to ask you. That all has to be set up and it's not really up to you. So don't get mad at the artist about that. It's not that you hate the people of Spain. It's that it's not the way the business works. Or, why don't you just sell your song to somebody famous? Why don't you just do that? Well, that's a really complicated process. And it's really, once again, not up to you. It's up to an architecture of things. It's up to years of networking. It's up to all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not driven all by you. So that's a common misconception of people.
I'm actually really glad that you touched on both of those things, because I think that is both of those things are really misunderstood from the outside in.
Mm-hmm. Even from the inside, as far as songwriting for hire goes, or writing as a job, really that artist has to have some kind of relationship with you, whether it's built by somebody who knows the artist, who is a middle person for your song, or realizes, hey, you should listen to their records if you're also a songwriter and an artist. Do you dig it? Maybe you guys could work together. That's kind of how it works. It's built on more personal relationships than you think. It isn't just a factory of songs and they get delivered to that artist and that artist picks yours.
So here we are back again to building relationships.
Yeah.
I think so much of this industry really is, frankly, like every other industry. Mm-hmm. It's just that music is no different in that sense, that it really is about the relationships that you build.
Yeah. And real ones, like real
ones,
friendships and.
Yeah. Not, I think this is an industry that has the potential to foster, obviously depending on who the people are, but it has the potential to foster inauthentic relationships, but that's not likely to actually get you the results that you're looking for. It's the authentic relationships that are the ones that matter in the end. Those are the ones that are rewarding.
Yes. And going back to your question about the people who have influenced you and helped you, the people that genuinely believed in the music that I was making or the music I've made with my friends, are still and who worked hard to get the music out there, are still my friends. They could have picked up on us and in some cases it was the late 80s and the early 1990s, and stepped in to help and stepped in to be part of it. They never leave your life. Those are your friends.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
I think it's not always the case. Sometimes things blow up. Relationships are difficult. And you talked about that, about a band ending. Sometimes it's not healthy for you, whatever that relationship is. But the ones that are healthy, stay on.
What's the most unexpected way that you've used your talents in the course of your career?
Well, for one, I don't think I ever thought that I would score movies or television. Mm-hmm. I never thought that as even a possibility. So I think that's unexpected. And the amount of time I've spent on it at this point, as a chunk of what I do, I never expected that. And I think that's about musical diversity is another thing that we really haven't talked about spreading out. Like, you're a teacher, you're a singer, writer, you're all these things. Mm-hmm. And I think as a musician, you realize that doing that, spreading out sideways, is a part of a complete life. Mm-hmm. It's part of a complete. I learned that from my mother, who also was an instrumentalist and became a teacher too, mm-hmm. and spent a lot of her time on that process. And I'm just a shitty teacher, so I had to do this other stuff.
So it's sort of the reverse. It's those who can't teach do.
Yeah, you got it. I don't think it's do, though. I don't think it's do. Teaching is just cat's ass as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the people that have helped me along the way, I did take some guitar lessons at certain points, and I remember how important the people were, and just sort of one-offs with somebody, few with somebody else. And I think, you can't get any, that accelerates the process so much faster than try to do it by yourself. YouTube is not teacher.
Yeah. Having somebody, I mean, I think it's really important to understand that the accomplishments always belong to the student.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher, their role is to show the student the path and help unlock the gates along the way.
Yeah.
But the accomplishment is always owned and up to the student, the work that they do or don't put in. And I think sometimes those can get conflated. Sometimes, but I think it's, as a student, the work that you put in, if you're with a good teacher and that's a good fit, that can, like you say, really accelerate your learning, and unlock things for you that you might have gotten to on your own. It just would have taken you a lot longer to get there.
Well, and the ideas of discipline, and the ideas and discipline as a positive thing, and the ideas of practice and repetition are really something you pick up from being taught, and come back next week having worked on those things. That's an important part of it. And I think it goes to that relationship thing again that keeps coming up in this conversation. That relationship, the teacher helps you understand how to collaborate, how to listen, which is what music is about, how to listen and learn from somebody and appreciate it. And I don't know a teacher to this day that I had in music that I don't still love.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's all the same. It's all relationship.
Yeah. Is there anything else you think is really important for up and coming artists to know that we haven't touched on?
No, just you can do it. You can do it. You can do what you want to do. God, if I could, holy shit. Everyone else can. Yeah. It's just, I think I was blind to the options. I just thought, this is what I want to do. So maybe just put your blinders on. Don't have a backup plan. All the things that your parents have said, they're wrong. No plan B.
No plan B.
But but the thing is that no plan B thing led to the expansion of outwards, sideways in my music, because I realized, I got 3 kids. I'm going to try that. Yeah, I'm going to take that gig. I'm going to do that. I've never done it before. Yeah, I can do that. And it led to a broader base. My appreciation for so many other people and the way they make a career out of music,
Where can people find you? Web, social media, show listings, whatever, any of those kinds of things?
Sure. There's just not odds gigs till the summer, but we have a new album. So we're finding the way to put it out right now. I'm with the Stephen Page Trio a lot, and we're in California in January. You can find me at Instagram if you want, which is just my name with the funny symbol in front of it, or Odds Music. It's on Instagram and on Twitter. Probably easiest way to talk to any of us. And just DM me or whatever you want to do. And Odds Music is the website for the band. And I'll just keep going.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a great chat.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.